unranked Stanford at Washington. And this is for, you know what, can we get up there? Stanford 3-2 in conference, Washington 4-2 in conference. So this is for a little pride, and hey, can we win this conference championship? 89th meeting goes back to 1893. But here's what's interesting. It's 42-42 and 4 ties. So you know what? This is a tiebreaker, if anything. Get up in the conference and break the tie. Been a long time since they were unranked. But if you look at these two teams, KJ Costello, 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The big interesting thing is Bryce Love. Bryce Love is going to be second in the Heisman last year. You know what? He's hurt all the time. It's not his fault. You know, that happens. He's way, way down. And then saw what happened with Washington. You'll talk about this, Mark, but Jake Browning, he's their leader. Had a little trouble last week, and then Myles Gaskin is hurt sometimes. These two wounded teams are going to go at it because it means something to them, and they can still win the conference. Talk to us, Mark.
Both teams are coming off frustrating losses. If you look at Stanford, their loss to Washington State was extremely frustrated. And how about Washington's loss 12-10 to Cal? You know, they could only put up 10 points against this Cal defense. Jake Browning completed less than 50% of his passes. Those games are on the road for them. I think they're going to be a different football team. If you look at them at home, they don't have Myles Gaskin last week. They had a tough time running the ball on the road. Now they're home. I think Jake Browning's a different quarterback at home. This team's going to play differently at home. As Coach, you said, teams are different when they play on home than they play on the road. I think Jake Browning will rebound in this football game. I think defensively, if you look at Washington, giving up 12 points, that's not an embarrassment. You're supposed to win games like that. So Washington's defense is still there, and I think Stanford's going to have a tough time scoring on them. KJ Costello has been hot, particularly last week, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, but I still think Washington will find a way to pull it out 33-26 at home.
I think that KJ Costello is having a tremendous year. He's a sophomore, and it's unfortunate that Bryce Love has not been able to be up to expectation. This is a little bit different Stanford team than what we're used to. They can't run the football this year, Mark, and they can't stop the run. Those are two things that they can always do. They can run the ball, stop the run. They played fit. That's not the case. So I give them a lot of credit, and I love Coach Shaw. I think he's an outstanding person. I think he's a great football coach. However, let's look at Washington. I think that Browning has not progressed the way that everybody expected him to, and particularly in big games. He had a very, very poor performance last week, throwing the interception right near the end of the game when they had a chance to win it. But Washington's defense is very good. I'd pick Washington to win the football game for 2 reasons. One, they're at home, and 2, they must win this game to stay alive in the race. If Stanford wins this football game, they're still dead in the race. There's no way in this world they're going to win the division, because if they end up with 2 losses, Washington State would end up with 2 losses. Washington State beat them head-to-head. So really, Stanford's 3 games behind. On the other hand, if Washington beats Stanford and then beats Oregon State, and then they play Washington State for the right to go, because Washington State has 1 loss. If they lose to Washington, that would be 2 losses. So I look for Washington to beat Stanford 34-28.
Well, they're playing for pride, playing for a chance. And if I'd have asked you gentlemen in week 1, or told you gentlemen in week 1 that the only 2 teams from the Pac-12 in the current top 25 would be number 8 Washington State and number 15 Utah, you know what? Stranger things have happened, but that's the nature of college football, and that's why we love it.